Welcome to this episode of Behind the Docs, presented by Evan Guthrie Law Firm. I'm attorney Evan Guthrie, and today we'll be reviewing the purported last will and testament of Charles Manson. And this is the alleged prison will that he made while incarcerated in Corcoran State Prison in California on February 14th, 2002. And his executor named is going to be a pen pal of his, Michael Channels. And he's sort of trying to get this will admitted as the authentic last will and testament of Manson so he can inherit from his estate. And there's also a couple other wills that are kind of floating around. And it's kind of up to the sort of court in California to judge which one's going to be the last will and testament and which one's going to be used to sort of determine his estate. And we'll just go into some of the details here. So the introduction part just gives his name, Charles Mills Manson, and just says that he's in state prison in California and wishes to leave his remaining estate to Michael Channels. It's redacted here, but we know Michael's sort of bringing the will forward to try to have it admitted as authentic. And then it also just names his two children, Michael Bruner and son Charles Manson Jr. And then just by naming them, he disinherits both of them and wants to give everything to Michael Channels. It says, immediately upon my death, my wishes are in leaving Michael Channels my entire estate, my remaining cash funds left in my account at Corcoran, my remaining property held by the state prison, my remaining clothing and personal items held by the state prison system, and any property belonging to B33920. So that's his inmate number. And again, it's some of those property items, they may have some value on the internet of just his personal items. There might be some collectors out there willing to pay. So again, most inmates wouldn't have very much value for their prison belongings, but again, these items might hold some value that could be sold on the open market. And then it just says, I'm leaving my entire estate to, again, redacted, but we know it's Michael Channels, including my image rights, my musical rights, and all printing rights, my exclusive music catalog, including all music I've ever printed, written, sang, recorded, released, and unreleased. So some people know that Manson, before he was in prison, he was sort of in the entertainment industry. He was a songwriter, and even one of his songs was written and used by the Beach Boys and a couple other artists. But so they do hold some value as far as just all the rights he has. And then it just says his image rights. So let's say somebody wanted to use his face on a T-shirt, or exploit his image. They'd be able to use that and have to pay the estate or, again, any beneficiaries of the estate to use his images. So again, those could hold some value as well. And then just his music catalog, again, he just has music and image rights, movie rights, and publishing rights, including exclusive right to the name of Charles Mills Manson. So again, it's kind of hard to sort of determine what kind of value that has going forward. But again, it's again, probably has a lot of value that if sold or used or exploited could have some value. And it says that this living will was written in 2002 and it's in the latest updated version, signed in full by me, Charles Manson, and again, it's inmate number B33920, stating my wishes of my said estate upon my death. And it says, I give written permission here to release all files to, again, redacted Michael Channels, including my juvenile records, C files, public files, and any police records and prison records deemed to be part of my estate. So it's just saying that forever record that might be sealed or private, he's giving access to his executor to be able to use those and have access to them. So the average person may not have access to it, and so it's really a appointed person that might have access to it to release it or use it or be able to release it to the public. And it says, upon my death, all my property being held in any institution, police force, prison system, or property room be immediately released to said executor. And the only person named in my will is the only recipient in my entire remaining estate. So again, it just sort of reiterating several times that he only has one beneficiary, and everything goes to his beneficiary, which is going to be his pen pal there. And then it says that this is going to be his only will, and then just sort of reiterates again sole recipient and executor. And it says, if no update is filed, then Michael Channels will be the sole recipient of my entire estate. My wishes upon my death have been privately confided with, and will have him in charge of the disposition of my remains as per side 2 of this original yellow side document. So again, kind of references to being released his body. So there was some kind of controversy over his remains that were sort of left in a freezer while his people were kind of battling out who had access to his remains and do that. So this will sort of controls who will have his remains, and then that his body's to be turned over and then buried, and he'll have specific burial instructions on what he wants as far as doing that. Then it says, I have forgiven any debts owed to me or debts owed to my estate. So again, he's saying that anybody owes him money, that those debts are forgiven. And it says, I'm leaving nothing to any such heirs or relatives, to children, wives, in-laws, lawyers, friends, prisoners, inmates, cops, guards, or the state of California, such as Star's estates being turned over to, again, his pen pal, Michael Channels, including my remains. So it's just, again, reiterating that he doesn't want anything else going to anybody else, just to his beneficiary and executor. It says, my entire estate is being given over and turned over to, including his remains, his full unmolested body. The state of California is to accept this document as legal and binding, and last will and testament. So this document was originated on February 14th, 2002, and was read, agreed upon as being what I want to have done with my belongings: cash receipts, personal effects, crafts, clothing items, cell items, guitars and paperwork, files, prison documents, photographs, recordings, music catalog, writings, drawings, artwork, and all items included in the estate. So just kind of exhaustive list of anything that you could possibly own. It's just sort of listed in here in the will, and then it sort of has a catch-all to anything else. It says, I own all my music and image rights, music catalog, and these items are part of my estate. So it just says that for whatever reason, if somebody else is claiming that he sold him his music rights, that he says that he never did that, and he has everything that is owned by him. And then it says, last will and testament is both signed on page 2 of this document, making it legal and binding a court of law from the said date, unless updated version specifically excludes out. So again, it's saying that he wishes this to be his final last will and testament. And if there's another document made after this that excludes this, then that one can take its place. But if there's not, then this is going to be his last will and testament. And then it just sort of says some of the belongings in his estate. Again, music rights, image rights, printing rights, music catalogs, music writings, artwork, drawings, spoken word, likeness, including publishing rights, printing rights, internet rights. And these rights are 100% exclusive to the Manson estate, and he's never been sold. Music is 100% exclusive to the Manson estate, includes over 100 songs in the Manson catalog. So again, it's just saying that he had no point in time that he ever sell any of his rights to anybody else, and that he had exclusive rights. So it's just saying that if anybody else were to step in and say that he sold them the rights or they own the rights, that this would sort of contradict that. And then again, it reiterates the distribution of the remainder, none. It says entire estate left to, again, redacted Michael Channels. Cash, everything goes to him. And executive information, same. And it says disposition of remains. And then it's going to be the side 2 lines on the back, and we'll get to that. And then it says children are disinherited. His ex-wife is disinherited, and his current wife is also disinherited. So again, he got, I guess, sort of remarried in prison, that she's also disinherited. And it says additional will options and accessories, the Manson handwritten on the next page. So on to page 2, and then it's kind of hard to read here, but it kind of says, yes, but how do you do it? I'm not in the best spot to rest in peace. To some people, my name is Manson. I can't read the last line. And then he sort of signs his name right here as for the signature page. and do that. So I don't know if that's too much of additional instructions. That, and then it says additional will options and accessories. As Charles Manson wishes to have his body released to the custody of redacted, it's Michael Channels, my one and only executor of any services, viewings, and funeral arrangements, or otherwise, in the judgment of my wishes only. It says immediately upon my death, arranged in advance by myself at the time of being in sound mind. So it's kind of standard of making the will. In 2002, in the month of February, on the day of the 14th of February in Corcoran State Prison in California. So it just says that, again, he just wishes that his executor be released his body and then disposed of how he had instructions set forth. So it just gives him sole authority to handle his remains. And then it's witnessed right here. And then we have, I guess, another witness that's sort of redacted here. And again, it's just kind of a short will, sort of a prison will. So they probably have their own standards of kind of what they have to do, where it has the inmate information. And since they're in the custody of the state of California, they have the additional things that are included in the will. So again, it kind of mentions the warden. A copy is made and given to the warden, and make sure that's authentic. So again, this is kind of submitted as last will and testament. Again, Michael Channels, he sent this will to several handwriting experts that compared the signature here to many other signatures that are sort of authenticated as Manson, and they were able to, I guess the signature expert was sort of able to authenticate the signature as Charles Manson. So they're going to have this maybe authenticated and admitted as well, but again, it's still up in the air as far as what they're going to do with it. But if it was the case that this was authenticated, it's a pretty simple will as far as everything just goes to his pen pal Michael Channels, and that sort of settles any kind of disputes that are sort of ongoing with his estate, and then he has the sole authority to sort of act as far as his estate, his body, anything else that might be included. So that's it, and thank you for joining us.